Welcome back to the Abundant Behavior Podcast. I'm your host, Ali Banks. Today, I definitely have some very special guests in the building. You know, we got some innovative people out here with their own platform, Conversations with the Culture.
Facts.
Now you got some people in the background doing the behind the scenes.
Shout out to Jack.
Yeah, you know. So I definitely want to collab with them to come talk to you guys about 2-parent homes versus 1-parent home. You know, before we get into it, though, I want to let them introduce themselves. They're just going to go tell you who they are, a little bit about themselves, and then we're going to kick it off.
All right, what's going on, guys? I go by the name of the Prince Clay. I'm a social media influencer, content creator, model. Of course, I have a podcast called Conversations with the Culture. I'm like 1/6 of it. I'm from Plainfield, New Jersey. Shout out to all my Jersey folks out there.
Okay.
And, you know, that's really it. I'm just living as a black man.
For sure.
I'm Renasia. I go by Ra. I don't really do too much. I mean, I'm a part of Conversation with the Culture, and I have my own nail business and sneaker customization business.
Okay.
The nail business is upstream _nails, and sneakers is custom _exclusives. I'll make sure y'all get at me.
Facts.
Yeah, go follow those handles, man, on all social media platforms.
Yep.
But just to kick it off, I guess we can go down the line and just, you know, talk about, you know what I'm saying, how we grew up, you know what I'm saying, if we grew up in a 2-parent home or a 1-parent home, and how that kind of impacted you growing up. How was your life growing up?
All right, so me, I didn't really grow up in a 2-parent home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it sucks, unfortunately. So I had my father in my life, right? My mom's. The crazy thing about it is I don't have any type of memories or any moments that I could actually remember, you know, me being with my mother. So it's like, and she had to be out the picture between the ages of like 2 and 5.
Okay.
But at the time, I'm like, I wasn't even really thinking about it as far as like actually like growing up. I was so just distracted, but it was a good distraction. And what I mean by that is, you know, I was, you know, always playing sports and just kind of like being around my family and friends. So it was, I'm like, all right, I see my pops. I ain't have any other questions. So I just kept going with my life, and that was just that. So.
Okay. What about you?
I mean, I grew up in a 2-family home, technically. I mean, my biological father wasn't really in my life. I grew up with my stepdad and my mom.
Okay.
It was hard, but at the same time, like, my stepdad has been in my life since I was 2, so that was my father figure.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, my biological father was, like, you know, pop in the picture here and there. But me and him didn't really have, like, a great connection or, like, a bond to begin with.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it was hard, but at the same time, I always had my stepdad to look up to or to be there for me when I needed that person. So,
Yeah, so for me, I grew up in a single-parent home, but my dad was always there, if that makes sense. Like, it got to a point where my mom moved around the corner from my dad, so I seen myself like, if I didn't want to deal with my mom, I just go around, literally walk around the corner to my dad's house, or vice versa. You know, if I'm gonna go back to my mom's house. It was cool, man. I actually didn't see the impact or realize the impact of a 2-parent home until we had some neighbors move in next door.
Okay.
And they had the 2-parent dynamic in their house, you know what I'm saying, with the nicer houses on the block, you know, family dynamic. You know, like, you thinking to yourself, like, it was little things that was like, okay, these folks eat breakfast in the morning together, sit down.
Yep.
We eating cereal all throughout the day. It's just different, you know what I'm saying? You don't really see it, and you start to be like, oh, man, they kind of living better. But even still, at a young age, I wasn't processing the fact that this is normal, because I grew up around a bunch of people who was in the same dynamic.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you start to sit back and think, and it didn't resonate until I had my own child.
Oh,
I think that's what it was, and it was like, okay, you see the back and forth with these children, how it's impacting them and affecting them on a day-to-day. So you're just sitting back thinking like, man, okay, a lot of things that happened to me or how I felt growing up, maybe this was because of this. So I started to piece stuff together. I wouldn't necessarily say it was bad, wasn't good. Like, I had a great childhood. You know, everybody has the trauma in it, but for the most part, I had a great childhood, you know. It was cool.
I want to, like, tap back on, man, cut you off.
Yeah.
And also too, like, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, want to harp on that situation as far as just like asking where my mother was.
Right.
Because at the time, just being a kid, I was just, like I said, worried about, just dealing with sports, hanging out with my family and friends. And obviously, I had my grandmother in my life, my cousins, my aunts, a couple of people that played a major role. And I feel like if I were to ask those, questions, a lot of feelings would be involved. And
Right.
at that age, it'll probably, mess me up in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, where my mom at? Where my mom at? And I know there's a lot of young kids out there that do have those questions, and sometimes whether it's, the father that's out the picture or the mom that's out the picture, they have those questions. And of course, for the parent that's in the picture, it's gonna be hard for them, right? So I didn't want to go on that route. And then as I got older, I'm like, you know what? If I were to meet her where I'm at now, it's just like I won't have no hard feelings, because I'm grown. I've built myself to this certain type of person. It's like, I understand. Like you said, I understand. Like you had a kid, so you understand. But for me, I don't have any children. But at the same time, my character, I'm like, I wouldn't be upset. Things happen. I just know that at the end of the day, I won't like reinvent that same situation.
So a question for you: Do you feel like that absence of your mother in any way affects like you in like relationships with women at all?
Yeah.
Like trusting or just like anything like
so
that?
so me as a person, like individually, I have like trust issues. I always admit to certain things like that, but I look at it as like, yo, I didn't have my mother in my picture, right? And I never tell like the women that I've come across in my life, I never tell them that situation until we actually, y'all know now, but it's like I feel like you can't just open up your private life to just some.
I'm the same way.
Because you never know, they go back and tell it to X, Y, and Z. Like I didn't tell that person. How did they know? Because you told them, right? Yeah. But back to the conversation though. I feel like us as men, we have a lot of learning to do, and especially something like that, you definitely want to be able to, not collect those memories or those situations, and be able to change that situation.
Separate them.
And when you find that partner, that you feel that you could trust, then hey, this is what happened, and I don't want to go back to when I was a kid and I didn't have my moms in my life, or I didn't have my pops in my life. So teach me, I'm gonna teach you, so we could make sure our child is in the best shape and form. So
that's how I feel like when it comes to being in a relationship. Like it's like me, I wouldn't say okay, so it's different because like yes, I had a father figure, but it's different because it wasn't my biological father. So like I appreciate my stepdad for everything that he did and for being there for me. But at the same time, it was like always that I always had that little yearning in the back that was like, well, why isn't my father around? Because like my father has brothers and sisters, right, and they all have kids. So I was always around my cousins, and when I was always with my cousins, I would always see them in they two parent apart households.
Right, the dynamic.
Yeah, so it was like I was always the oddball out because it was like me and my cousins used to get into it all the time, and then their favorite line to throw was at least my mom and my dad is in the same house. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
sick.
like
Kids
coming
are
up,
sick.
yeah. So like coming up, it's like it was a
challenge.
Yeah, because at the same time it was like even though I wanted my dad in my life, it was always still this part of me that didn't. Because of the fact that he wasn't there. Okay. So like all the trauma that was like attached to it was like kind of like like pushing me away from him. But then there was also this little part that like tried to pull me closer that kind of wanted him there. And so like when it comes to my kids, I want that. I want my kids to be in a stable household.
So when it comes to the relationship with your dad or the lack of the relationship, same question I asked him. Do you feel like that has played a role in your relationships with men?
Definitely has.
In what ways could you say, like the anger, the like the not wanting to deal with stuff for too long? Like how has it impacted?
So one, it makes me like, okay, after a while I get bored very easily, like, and tired of men,
right?
Like, in general, like, and it's like you know how when we say that, okay, like men are the masculine,
right?
Part of a relationship. Me, I've always grown up being the masculine person.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So it's like when a man is like trying to be the alpha, it feels like they challenging me,
right,
at the same time,
okay,
because that's just how I was brought up, and like I was always combative with my biological father. So like I didn't know nothing about arguing,
right,
and just going back and forth. So like growing up and getting into relationships, and like now it's starting to like simmer down, but in the beginning it was more of a like, you told me to do what? Like, who? Like, you think you're doing? Nah, like I don't care for nothing that a man like would tell me to do or say to me. It like trigger me. Then the trust issues.
That's what everybody.
It was just a lot.
Yeah.
It was just a lot. But I mean, it take time to work on it, and you know.
So for me, I think, like I said, a lot of stuff started to come into realization when I had my first son. Like his mom, like when me and his mom were together and we were staying together, she would, just say things like, you should step it up and do X, Y, and Z. I didn't really realize all the things that she was doing until we separated, and I had him on my own. I'm like, okay, I start to see. But like growing up and seeing my mom and dad in two separate homes, a lot of the times all I seen my dad do was bring money, bring groceries.
Yeah.
A bill needs to get paid. He was there at games, present, show his face, go back to work. So that's what I saw. It seemed cool. So I'm like, man, the bill's taken care of. My son got clothes. Like, what are you complaining about?
Because that's what you knew.
That's what I knew, and I didn't start to realize, like, hey, even if you are providing, you still have to be present and actually be fathering and being a parent. And I had to reach back and apologize. I'm like, okay, I understand what you were saying now, that I took that perspective into play.
The picture is more clear.
So because for a long time in my head, I'm like, well, I got the money, so I mean,
exactly.
or not even, because she had her own money as well. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like all I seen, like.
But I feel like that's a lot of males, though. I feel like a lot of males are on the, if I can provide for the kid, then that's more than enough.
Oh no, it's not.
And not instead of the whole, because like I have a couple of friends who are like, not in the same, like their kids are growing up in a single parent household, right? They get to see their son or their daughter, and they come stay with them. And like we be sitting down, we be having conversations about like the way that how they feel on the fact that their kid is living somewhere else or not living with them, and how the baby mom is always like complaining about something. And it always comes down to they don't spend enough time with their kids. Like it's always you got the money, you get them the money, but at the same time, what are you doing for them? Because they need you as that person to see in their life growing up.
See, and it's so crazy that we have turned so far away from how things are supposed to be that now we have to make this whole new world dynamic on. I told somebody, I feel like we need co-parent counselors.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Because
it's not even like marriage anymore. It's not even like relationship counseling. It's literally two people coexisting, raising kids.
Yeah.
So I feel like somebody needs to step in and say, all right, well, we need a co-parent counselor so you guys can get on the right terms. Knock out all this past emotional abuse that you guys have for each other, and just put the betterment on the child.
A lot of people be like, I'm not doing that. Like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. So let me ask you guys, what's something that you feel like lacked in your household, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit already. What's something that lacked in your household growing up, and what's that thing that you want to implement in your household and make sure that it's ran like that in your house, or your kids have this certain thing when you have kids?
So for me, say my mom out the picture, right? Just going up with my father and my other family members. I feel like there wasn't as much communication, and I felt like, the saying, like, black men, wasn't taught to, show emotions like that. So we never really had a chance to just like communicate. we communicated, but it wasn't on that certain type of level.
It was real surface level.
Yeah, we were just going about our day, just eating breakfast together, doing like a mental checkup and just
right.
Leaving the house and just doing what we do in our everyday lives. But definitely, once I have my own family, definitely communication, because even with my significant other, I want to know how she's doing mentally. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing good? Because we need to both tool that. And then when I do have my first child, I definitely want to have conversations with my son or daughter just to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I can't really answer that question, only because I don't really remember my childhood. Like, I had so much trauma that, like,
it just, you try to put it all the back.
Yeah, it's like a blind spot
right.
that, like, I honestly can't really remember my childhood. I think the age I can remember up to is probably like 14. So
really,
yeah, I don't really like remember anything
crazy.
Before then, unless it has to do with me like getting into something physical or like an altercation with my biological father. Other than that, I can't.
Yeah.
Also, too, this is like a environmental situation too. Like, I'm from Jersey, so I grew up in the hood. So there were, always times where I would just, hear the sounds of people, shooting and stuff like that. Cops running around across my lawn, and then just people selling drugs. So that's one thing I never, talked to my folks about either. I'm like, yo.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I could have easily been like, why are they shooting for? Why I see cops, patrolling my neighborhood 24/7. I could have said those things, but I just kept it all in my mind and just like kept it with me to this age I am now. So
yeah, that's one thing I'm grateful about my son. One thing that I feel like my mom didn't do a lot of is like hear us out. Okay. It was always shut up. I said it.
You know what you're talking about.
You ask why. Don't ask me why. Just do it. Now I give my son a chance to make something make sense to me.
Okay.
All right, son. I told you to put the toys up. It's time to go lay down. Well, why? Well, son, you have school in the morning. Yeah. Now that we've crossed that threshold of why, I need you to go ahead and knock it out and get it done. I've already given you an explanation.
Sometimes all kids want is an answer, or they want to understand.
I yearned that so bad. Like, I always wanted to, and it's crazy I have a platform today. Yeah. Because I just always like to talk. And my mom used to always tell me, like, shut up. You always talking. And I just always wanted to know why. But, my other siblings, and my sister's kind of like me. Yeah. Where she questions stuff. My oldest brother, he's like, bro, just be quiet, let her have it. He's like, for what?
Exactly. Yes. Like, that's how I am, though. I'm the same way.
I'm like, for what? I just want to know why you telling me I can't go outside. There's nothing going on. Like, tell me why. And then I'll shut up and go sit down.
Exactly. I just needed the explanation.
Because it don't make sense. You punishing me for nothing. You feel me? So that's one thing. I just did not like that. But by the time I became 18 and my senior year in high school, she just like whatever, go ahead, just have your fun before you go into the Navy. So it was cool, but that's one thing. Like, I do give my son a chance to, like, all right, son, I mean, go ahead and explain. I'm going to tell you why, and then after that, just get it done. So I think that's super important.
I feel like that was important. That is important.
Letting them know they got a choice in the matter, or a voice.
Like, my mom, I can say that she let me, like, speak to her and speak my mind on stuff, and she wasn't dismissive about my feelings towards things. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to like me asking why to certain things, it's always like, I'm the parent. Like,
I don't understand that.
Don't ask me why.
Yeah.
Like, just do what I say, okay? And at the end of the day, because I used to ask her like he said, growing up in Jersey, you would hear the gunshots, that was like my. People be like listening to rainfalls and stuff like sleep. That was my meditation. Yeah, that was like that's actually really sick to talk. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, like, it's regular. I can sleep through that. Like,
it's normal.
I can sleep through a house full of kids banging on doors.
And it's crazy that
when it's too quiet, I'm like, man, what's going on?
Exactly. When I first got out here, it was like, dang, I don't really hear no sirens. Like,
nah, it's especially over here. It's so super quiet. I be nervous walking outside. I'm like, why is it so quiet? Ain't nobody having no fun?
You ain't in the right area.
I understood, like, as I got older, like, why she didn't want me going outside, because we did live in a not so good part of town that, like I said, I could understand, like, oh, she don't want me going outside. There's always some shooting going on around here.
Facts.
Or kids getting snatched up, or this happened to this person. So I understood as I got older, but it was always that question of why?
Yeah.
Why can't I? My friends get to.
Right.
Why can't I go outside with them? And it was always like, mom was like, because I said so. Like, and then as I got older, she started being like, because I'm trying to look out for your safety. You
Right.
understand? And it was always like a little thing in the back of my mind, like, girl, like you don't want me to have no fun. Like
being a creative and being on social media and being an entrepreneur, you always have to be questioning things. And why is it this way? Let me try to run it this way. But I'm glad that I kept that spirit about me. Like I never let my mom like dim that in me. Why? Because I take my whys and I really innovate with them. And that's one thing that I'm trying to put into my son is like always question stuff. Because if the person that pushed the door open never said, why can't we just get a knob and twist it? That would have never been made. It's always questioning things. Innovative people always questioning stuff. Why is it made this way? Let's see how we can do it and make it better this way. You know, so that's one thing that I want to press into my sons. Like, I'm gonna let you know why, son. You know, and he loves creating stuff and building stuff. So it's like let him run free. You know, let their minds run free. You know. So, do you think that like 2-parent homes, 1-parent home, does it dictate a child's success? Like growing up?
I wouldn't say that it dictates your success. I would say that it just dictates the way that you look on certain things or the ways that you go about your daily like routine in life. Speaking from, because I didn't have a single parent home, but I feel like if I grew up with just my mom, then I feel like I would look at things completely different than how I look at them now.
Right.
Like, so I really don't think it dictates my success because I feel like if you have that parent that's there for you to, like, mold you, like, yes, you always need, like they say, like, a male needs a woman to know how to love softly. But a female also needs a man in her life to learn how to, you know, not get played out. You know what I'm saying? Or to have that person there for them. It's like
coexisting. Yeah,
it's different. So I feel like if it was just, if my mom, she played both parts. So I think that it didn't really too much affect me because she was always that person for me regardless. So like anything that I wanted to do, she supported. So I feel like even if my dad wasn't a picture, regardless, I was still going to be supported regardless either way of what I wanted to do. So I don't think it really like plays a part in my success.
Yeah, I agree with Ra. Cause you know you could have a 2-parent home, and you know, say they're not really like seeing eye to eye, and you just be like, yo, all right, I'm gonna make sure that, you know, I play my part. I wanna, you know, sit down with them and say, hey, can y'all, you know, come together, see eye to eye, because it's you know it's kind of affecting me. Right. But I'm going to touch on like, you know, the 1-parent household because that's what I you know experienced. I feel like, you know, my pops, you know, he did all he could, you know, especially when I was, you know, younger, and like just me watching him and watching, you know, my uncle, my aunts, my grandmother, I'm like, it kind of made me want to just, you know, go 10 times harder. It made me want to, you know, be a better person. It made me want to, you know, be a better black man. It's crazy I gotta say that. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be a better black man, especially growing up in the type of environment that I grew up in. I'm like, yo, I do not want to be in this situation for a long time. And, you know, when you're in the hood, what's the saying? You become like a product of your environment. And I knew at an early age, I'm like, nah, I gotta get out. I gotta, you know, be successful. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But speaking from like external, realistically, if you have a single parent household, it should give you the motivation and energy to do better. You know what I'm saying? It should impact you in such a way where it's like, yo, you know, my mom wasn't in the picture or my pops wasn't in the picture. Let me do all I can to make sure, you know, my mom's is good. Yeah. Make sure my pops is good for life, because I understand it was hard for it doesn't matter if you're a single mother or a single father, right? It's hard. You're still going to all the sacrifices that person had to make. You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna do what I can. I'm gonna make you proud because you was there for me. in the long run. So let me do what I have to do. Let me be successful so I could, give it all back to you.
Right.
And that's one thing I can say that like definitely plays a part in it is me trying to make sure that I can give back because I know that the strain that was put on my mom with her having to raise me with my stepdad and then having my biological father always going at it with her. So I can definitely say that that plays a part in me trying to basically give back to her in tenfold, like than what she did for me.
Yeah.
So for me, I honestly think that it doesn't dictate your success, obviously, because everybody has their own mind, and you can go out and be successful at any point in your life if that's what you want to do. But in the black community, we lack a lot of resources.
Oh, for sure.
When you don't have resources that pushes people to go out and sell drugs, do certain things for money. Depression is at an all-time high. The 90s crack was at an all-time high. You know what I mean? And so the lack of having another parent to, boost up the income in the household pushes kids out there to find these examples of ways to make money. So I feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong at. Even though my dad was, in my life, I seen him almost every day. He worked a lot.
Yeah.
So he wasn't really there to instill those, things in me. But I always had my oldest brother in the house. He's 40 today, and we have a great relationship. But he was always there, like, when I was getting in a little trouble outside, running around people I wasn't supposed to, telling me stuff like, bro, that's dumb. Like, do you want to be a dummy? Like, plain and simple, just little conversations like that propelled me to be the person I am today. So just always having a proper environment, I think, is most important to your success, not necessarily the two-parent home. Just making sure that you have a good environment for your kids. It takes a village, you know what I'm saying? That's a true statement, So that's is there anything that you guys will go back and change in your life, even if it messes up some good things that you guys have going on today?
I can say this. I honestly don't. I wouldn't go back and change anything, because I feel like everything that I've been through has molded me into the person that I am today. Like, yes, I went through the whole trauma thing and trying to still, work out some kinks to everything, and still realizing like what's my triggers. But other than that, I would not go back and change anything because I feel like that's made me the compassionate, caring, and opening and listening person that I am today. I feel like I'll be more, a different person. And honestly, I can't see that for myself.
Nah, facts.
I wouldn't change a thing. I believe I was meant to be in a position that I am.
Everything happens for a reason.
Because if I did want to change, I could have went left, instead of right. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no telling where I would have been. I probably would have been dead. I probably been locked up. But I feel like I'm still writing my script. God put me here for a reason.
I like that. Still writing my script.
That's all I got for real, for sure. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything either. Just looking back at it, I had fun. Like you said, everybody has their trauma or the issues that they dealt with. But it definitely made me who I am today. Like seeing my dad, seeing my brother, seeing my mom, watching them go through their adversities, watching them propel through those adversities. It made me who I am. So I wouldn't go back and change the things. Everything I went through, the two-parent home, the lack of the communication, I feel like it made me really strong as a person, really resilient. And so it made me who I was supposed to be, who God wanted me to be.
Exactly.
I wanted to say one more thing too.
Go ahead, bro.
Like everything that we, went through, everything that we witnessed, it's very important that we, pass that information down.
That's very
whether it's to our own children, whether it's to, a youngin' that's, out and about. Like, if we see him doing something, pull him to the side, like, yo, like, don't do this. You know what I'm saying? Because if I didn't go through a particular situation, passing down to him, I've also seen things. You know what I'm saying? That's what I base my life off of, too. There's a lot of things I ain't do. A lot of people out there say they do shit, but they ain't really do it. But there was some things I didn't do, but I learned by just seeing, so I could pass that knowledge down to the next person. So.
For sure.
And that's very important, like learning and then passing it down, because every generation some information gets lost.
Yeah.
That's why they said it's super important to have like a newborn baby or a new baby around an elder person inside of your home, because they take that from their generation, give it to this kid, so that way it can be passed. It continues to pass, continues to pass, continues to pass. And it's a lot of stuff still to this day that I do on a day-to-day basis that I didn't realize was being instilled in me by my grandmother and my mother, that I still do. And you catch yourself like, oh man, I'm just like my mom. Yeah. Or, oh man, I'm just like my grandma. But it's not that. It's just you've taken these habits and built it and carried it. Now your son has those same habits. Now his son will have those same habits. So that was definitely dope. I like that. This was definitely a dope conversation, definitely a dope episode. I appreciate Conversations with the Culture coming out.
For sure.
But before we leave, I do want to ask you guys, if you both you guys take some time, leave with a quote, a message, or just anything that's been on your mind before we wrap it up.
You want to start that
off? Is that a quote or a message?
A quote or a message, anything that's on your mind that you would like for the audience to hear.
Honestly, is it a quote that I can make up? You
can say whatever you like right now. The floor is yours.
Come on, Ra.
Go about in life the way that you intend for your life to play out to be, not the way that anybody else has a picture for you. If you feel like anybody dictating your life or dictating the way that you should be, step out of that, look at it in a bigger picture, and basically go find your own path. Everybody says that God writes your story, which he does, but he will put you on the right path of the way that you need to follow. That's what I have.
So, crazy story. It's not a story. It's like a moment. So, I'll be drinking tea in the morning, and you know how they have the little messages?
Right, the little quote, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to remember what it says. It said was like, in order to be remembered, leave nothing behind but love.
I seen that on
and that's what it is. And that's what it is.
That's dope.
Straight like that.
That's dope.
Straight like that.
Leave nothing but love. And just to go back off what you were saying, and I think I lost my. Repeat what you said, because I lost my thought. No, just a quote, because I had something. Oh, right. I was reading. It's a book called The Ways of a Superior Man, and it was just saying like, when you talking about living up to other people's expectation and living life for other people, it had a chapter in there that said, work as if your dad were dead. And that's kind of profound, because a lot of men, a lot of women, they're trying to live up to the standards of their parents. They go to college because their parents said it was right. They wanted to go be an entrepreneur. They doing this, that, and the third. They done spent 10 plus years building a life that their parents wanted, and now they're miserable.
Yep,
you know what I mean? So work as if your dad were dead. I know that quote is kind of like, but...
Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's the whole thing of just live for yourself. So I really like that. It's definitely a dope episode. We got Conversations with the Culture in the building. I appreciate you guys for pulling up. This was a dope conversation. I appreciate you guys for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. We only going to get better.
Facts.